Is Premier Christy Clark changing her tone on the BC carbon tax? Yesterday, in a conference call with reporters, we heard some unexpected things from the BC Premier. Comments that are in line with the campaign slogan of putting British Columbians first. Clark was talking to reporters ahead of the First Minister's meeting in Ottawa starting today, and she cautioned that the new federal carbon tax being mandated by Justin Trudeau and his federal Liberals needs to be fair and equitable across our country. BC, and sadly soon Alberta, will both be using the price per tonne of carbon tax, while Ontario and Quebec have opted for a cap and trade system. And while these are both ways of taxing carbon, one of the biggest questions facing economists and now politicians is how do these methods of carbon tax differ, and are they equitable? Well, Premier Clark is concerned about that fairness, suggesting, quote, there should be one rate of tax. If it's going to be a national tax, it should be the same rate across the country, unquote. Well, that seems fair to me, and it's classic Christy Clark balancing both sides of a tricky debate in BC, where it looks like she is sticking up for us, suggesting it needs to be fair, but also not completely abandoning the idea of the tax. And while it is to my chagrin that she won't get on board with eliminating this job-killing and investment-killing tax, it's what British Columbian populism looks like at this moment. A recent study by the Canadian Eco-Fiscal Commission compared cap and trade to a price per tonne model. The study showed that while BC and Alberta will be paying $30 a tonne of carbon by 2018, the marginal rate for Ontario and Quebec under cap and trade will only be $19 a tonne by 2020. Clark reacted to this difference by stating to reporters yesterday that, quote, there is nothing good about people in Terrace paying double in their carbon price than people in Toronto. I don't think that there will be a durable system for Canada because when Canadians don't think their taxes are fair, and when Canadians think that one region is going to be disadvantaged versus another, these kind of proposals never have a long life, unquote. Well, Premier Clark is right, but she needs to go further. If she is deadly serious about putting British Columbians first, then she needs to make a commitment to link BC's carbon tax to the same price as the national tax. No waiting for 3 years for other provinces to catch up. BC has already paid our fair share of carbon taxes since 2008. It's time to reduce the burden on the BC taxpayer, who is already suffering from some of the highest living expenses in North America. Let's put our province on an equal playing field as the rest. Let's see our Premier fight for BC and BC businesses. Of course, scrapping the carbon tax both provincially and federally is the only true way to stay competitive now that the US has indicated they'll be going a completely different direction under Trump. And of course, our neighbor, Washington State, recently rejected a carbon tax, and one of BC's LNG competitors, Australia, scrapped their carbon tax after just 2 years, as I'm sure you've heard a lot about lately. But if we are going to be forced by Justin Trudeau and Climate Barbie to have a federal price on carbon, then it's up to Premier Clark to fight for fairness and for BC to ensure that Western Canada doesn't get screwed again. For the Rebel.media, I'm Christopher Wilson. Thanks so much for watching. You know, if you're in Alberta right now and you're hurting and you're scared about Rachel Notley's new carbon tax, well, we're having another emergency rally, this time in Calgary on Sunday. Make sure you're there and let the elites back in Ontario know that you're not going to stand for this new price on carbon.